Hi, my name is Grae O'Toole, lead wildlife keeper at the Vermont Institute of Natural Science. As many of you know, our mission is to motivate individuals to care about the environment through research, education, and avian rehabilitation. Our Center for Wild Bird Rehabilitation takes in injured wildlife from across the state of Vermont, cares for them with the hopes of releasing them back into the wild. Last year, VINS took in 705 patients, and of those 705, 309 were nestling and fledgling raptors, songbirds, and waterfowl. That means that roughly half the intakes for the whole entire year we receive in just the summer months. And during this video, I'll give you a couple tips on how to take care of birds that you may find while you're out and about. This is our baby bird room, and this is where most of our baby songbirds end up when they first arrive at VINS. So we generally put them in one of these incubators right here, and it's a nice temperature and humidity controlled environment for them to warm up and de-stress from the car ride over here. And we always like to make sure the babies are nice and warm before we do anything like an initial intake exam or even feeding. So once we've addressed any injuries the birds might have and rehydrated all of the babies, we will then try to start doing our feeding of either a liquid diet formula or a well-balanced solid food diet consistent with the birds' natural diets. And during this stage in care, it's really important that the babies get a really structured feeding schedule to ensure that they're getting all the nutrition that they need to grow healthy and strong. So we feed nestling babies from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night every single day, and we would not be able to accomplish all that without the help of all of our volunteers who come in during their shift and spend the whole shift just feeding baby birds for us. And once the babies start growing and fledging out a little bit more, our rehab staff will actually move them to larger enclosures to encourage them to forage for food and to build up their flight muscles. So the general stay for a nestling bird that's brought to VINS is roughly 30 to 40 days, much like it would be for them in the wild if they were with their parents. And staff always like to make sure that the birds are flighted, active, and eating on their own before we get them release ready. So I just spoke about how VINS takes care of the baby birds when they're here, but I want to talk a little bit about baby bird identification. So there are two main growth stages for baby birds. There's nestlings and fledglings. So nestling baby birds have minimal feathers, their eyes have just started opening, and they're completely bound to the nest. And if you find a bird that fits this description out in the wild, they will need help. So if the nestling bird appears injured or cold to the touch, call VINS or your local rehabber so that they can get care immediately. And if the bird appears uninjured or is warm, the best thing would be to try finding the nest nearby. If you locate the nest that you think is the nest that bird belongs to, it's as easy as putting the bird back in the nest and then watching from a distance to make sure parents are coming to feed. And don't worry, the parents actually won't reject the baby after it's been handled by humans. Birds actually don't have a very good sense of smell, so they probably wouldn't even notice if they had been handled. So our suggestion is to just watch for a couple of hours and see if you see parent birds coming to feed the babies. The next stage for baby birds is fledglings. So fledglings are fairly feathered and they have started exploring outside of the nest. So during the summer months we receive many phone calls from people, and these birds are out of the nest, but not completely flighted, so a lot of people mistake them for adult injured birds. And as long as the bird appears uninjured and is in a fairly safe location, our recommendation is actually to just leave the bird alone and watch them for a couple of hours. Though they're out of the nest, the parents will actually still be visiting them and feeding them, so just watch for a couple hours and see if parents are around. And if you do watch from a distance and you don't see parents around for several hours, you can always contact VINS or your local rehabber. Alright, so I spoke a little bit about putting a nestling bird back in a nest if you're able to find it, but what happens if the nest is destroyed? So you can actually make a new nest and the birds would be none the wiser. All you need is a container with holes in it for drainage, and just natural materials like leaf litter or grass to put in the container to help cushion the babies. So once you've had your nest created, the next step is actually just putting it back in the original nesting location. If you're unable to do that, then I would recommend putting it near where the nest location had originally been, at roughly the same height, and securely fastening it using either screws or tape or rope. And a special note with tape is to just make sure that the adhesive side is covered so that the birds don't actually get stuck. And next you just watch from a distance and see if parents are coming to feed. If not, you can call VINS or your local rehabber. Alright, so those are just a few ways you can help baby birds that you might find. So though VINS Nature Center is closed to the public, our Center for Wild Bird Rehabilitation is still accepting patients from 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. And you can always give us a call at 802-359-5001, extension 212, and we can answer any questions that you might have. We have changed our protocols a little, just to ensure the health and safety of guests and staff. So we hope to see you soon, and stay safe and be well.